So the group stage part of the NBA Cup just ended, and with it came some close games, some blowouts, some teams not even winning a game, to teams winning all their games. And the point of this video is to recap what happened in the first round of games. So let's get into it. So in this group, starting out with the Knicks, they won all 4 of their games they were in. They were in some close ones against the Hornets and Nets, but they pulled through. Cat averaged 21 and 13, and Brunson struggled in the first game, but he had a great finish. Bridges was very up and down, but nonetheless they went 4-0. The Orlando Magic went 3-1 and lost to the Knicks, but they won by double digits in their other games, and in 2 of them by 20 plus. They also had the highest point differential of the group and led opponents to the least amount of points of all Eastern Conference teams, but their problem was that they are playing without their star Paolo, who was out with injury. Franz Wagner stepped up, though, averaging 30, and the team held strong, getting them the wild card spot. The 76ers at 2-2 were just hit with the injury bug. None of the Sixers' big 3 played in all the Cup games. Paul George and Maxey played well when they were on the floor, and their rookie Jared McCain shined, averaging 25 points, the most on the team, and their superstar Embiid only played 2 games, and when he did, he was bad. He was slow and sluggish and only averaged 16 points and 5 boards, and shot a piss poor 26% from the field. The Brooklyn Nets went 1-3, but don't let them mislead you. They were pretty competitive in almost all of their games. 2 of their games only lost by 1 score. Cam Jordan and Cam Johnson were effective scorers, and they played good defense, but they just weren't good enough. Charlotte Hornets went 0-4 in 3 of their losses by 5 points or less, but the problem with the 76ers was health. LaMelo only played 2 games, Bridges only played 1. Their center Nick Richards in 1 game dropped 22 and 14. Brandon Miller was their only health constant, but he shot poorly. This whole group was really competitive, and I wish teams had full health. It would have been better to watch. So the Bucks, who were having a bad start and were getting memed on by everyone, locked in for their Cup games. They went 4-0 and had a point differential of plus 50, the most out of everyone in the East. There's 2 stars each missed the game, but they both averaged 29 points, and Dame turned into a facilitator too, averaging 10 assists as well. They played good defense, and Bobby Portis was a bit of an unsung hero, averaging 15 and 6 to send them to the quarterfinals. The Pistons were a bit of a surprise when 3-1 only lose to the Bucks. Their first 2 wins were close games, but the third one against the Pacers was a blowout, and everyone on their squad played great. They just had to play the Bucks, who were on a tear. One of the problems is that most of the guys in their squad shot poorly from 3, which doesn't help, but this is pretty good showing for the Pistons. The Heat went 2-2, but in their 2 losses they played the Pistons and Bucks close. Jimmy missed 2 games, but when he did play, he was great. To me, what really killed them was their marksman Duncan Robinson shot 24% from 3. He was awful. In the 3-point league we playing today, you can't do that. Shout out to Tyler Hero, who really stepped up in these games, but overall it wasn't close enough. The Raptors won 1-3, but I don't really have much to say about them. They had a couple guys miss some time, but when they were on the floor, they had 4 guys average 20 plus, with Scotty averaging 29, 8, and 9. They played great, but just weren't good enough. That's it. The Pacers' nightmare continues. They went 0-4 and had a negative 60-point differential. They lost every game by double digits. Everyone on their squad was relatively healthy, but they were just outclassed in pretty much every way. Halliburton brought some of their early season struggles, and last year #1 offense looked stagnant at times this year. Nobody swept the group, but the Hawks came out on top, going 3-1 and lost only to the Bulls. They had 2 great wins in beating the Red Hot Cavs and the champ Celtics. Trae Young played well, averaging double-double, but the MVP of the team was Dyson Daniels. He averaged 17 points and 5 steals, doing well on both ends of the floor. The Hawks are playing some good ball, might be the team that comes out of the East. The Celtics also went 3-1, but they didn't make due to losing to the Hawks in the first game. All of their key guys were healthy and played great. They're averaging about 53s a game and are shooting efficiently. They just didn't meet the requirements to take the wild card spot from the Magic. But they played great overall, and nobody on their team really struggled. Their 6th man of the year favorite Peyton Pritchard went crazy in some games off the bench, but they just didn't barely make the cut. The red-hot Cleveland Cavaliers only lost 3 games so far this season, and 2 of them came in their Cup games. They were very inconsistent from 3, and most of the time they just crashed and burned. They blew out the bad teams and the Bulls and Wizards to get some point differential, but the Celtics and Hawks dispatched them. The Cavs are still having an amazing season so far, but in the Cup games they fell flat on their face. The Chicago Bulls were 1-3 and lost by double digits in their losses. Their key guys played well though. They had 5 guys that averaged 15 plus and they shot efficiently, but they were just outclassed. There really isn't anything to say about them. They just weren't good. The Washington Wizards lost every game, had a negative point differential of 74, the worst out of any team in the tournament. Not a single game was close. They had guys miss some time, but they were overall awful and shot poorly from the field. They have only won 2 games this season and probably just want to quit and fast forward to the draft. The Rockets topped their group going 3-1 and had a point differential of 40 plus, and they just played great complementary ball. Nobody really showed out. They didn't have a single person average 20 points, but they had 7 guys get minutes. They played a bunch of good guys. They played a bunch of guys good minutes. They just played good defense and smart basketball, which allowed them to win their group. The Clips went 2-2, mostly due to them not shooting from deep well. Also having Kawhi out doesn't help, but Norman Powell stepped up in his place. Harden was good on scoring and also on passing. In their 2 wins, they won comfortably, and their loss against the Wolves was only by 1. Maybe if they had Kawhi back, they could have topped their group. The Timberwolves are struggling this season, and they brought their troubles with them to the Cup games. They played close in all their games, but nobody really stepped up alongside Anthony Edwards, who almost averaged 30. Nobody else on the team averaged 20. They could have been better if they just hit some more shots, but their season so far is a disappointing sequel to last year's success. The Trailblazers went 2-2, and were just alright. When they lost, they lost, and when they won, they won. Not too much to say about them. DeAndre Ayton stepped up averaging 20, but it just wasn't enough. The Kings are the weirdest 1-3 team in this tournament because if you look at their starters' stats, they look great, but the issue was they didn't get any help from any of their rotation guys, like at all. Also hurts that DeMar DeRozan missed 2 games. They weren't really blown out any game, but you can't win when your second rotation can't score any points. The OKC Thunder topped their group going 3-1 and had a point differential difference of plus 45. In all 3 of their wins, it was by double digits, and their sole loss was a close one to the Spurs. Shea had an MVP performance averaging 30 points, 7 assists, and 2 steals, putting on a clinic. Jalen Williams played great, but I think there are other guys that take a bigger leap for them to have a chance at winning it all. The Phoenix Suns went 3-1, led by Booker, who played every game, averaging 24 a game. But their 2 other stars, KD and Beal, missed some games, and when they both played, they both averaged less than 20 points. It looked kind of sluggish. The real killer for this team was the rest of the squad not contributing at all, which is surprising how they won 3 games due to everything against them. The LA Lakers went 2-2, beating the Spurs and the Jazz, but lose to the Thunder and Suns and having a negative 24-point differential. Their players played well with the exception of LeBron and D'Lo. LeBron really struggled shooting the ball these 4 games, averaging 20% from 3. Some good about the Cup game performance was AD and the rise of Dalton Knecht, who really stepped up when his teammates struggled, averaging 19 points and shooting 55% from 3. The Spurs also went 2-2, playing every game close. All their players played well, actually, like Devin Vassell and Wemby. But those 2 guys weren't available for every game, and they were missing their coach Greg Popovich, who suffered a stroke. They played well given the circumstances. The Utah Jazz are one of only 4 teams that didn't win a single game during the tourney, while also having a negative 54-point differential. There really isn't much to say about this team, so they're obviously trying to tank, and we're just outclassed by everybody else. The Warriors topped their group, went 3-1 in all their games. They scrapped out in all of them. They never looked so much better than the other team, and the big thing to their success was them playing everybody deep. They were playing 11, 12 guys good minutes, which leads to them having fresh legs. They played selfless ball. Their highest scorer was Steph, who only averaged 23 points a game. I think they might have the best shot of winning. The Mavericks went 3-1, claiming the West wildcard spot, and had the best point differential of anybody in the conference. They only lost to the group winners by 3 points only. Kyrie and Klay were kind of quiet this series, but others on the team made up for it. They had 8 guys average double digits. The Nuggets went 2-2 and were close and competitive in every game. The problem with them was they just couldn't hit shots at times down the stretch. Jokic really tried to put this team on his back, averaging 35, 13, and 8, but it wasn't enough. The Memphis Grizzlies went 1-3 due to some injuries like John Morant or Zach Edey. But what really killed them was that they were atrocious from 3, probably the worst team shooting the ball. The Pels also went 1-3, and injuries just decimated this team. Their starting guys all missed games like Zion, Ingram, Murray, and McCollum. I was interested in this team before this season, but they haven't been able to get on the court together at all. So the winners out of the West are the Thunder, Rockets, Warriors, and Mavericks, and out of the East are the Bucks, Knicks, Hawks, and Magic. The in-season tournament has been pretty good so far, so we'll see where it takes us.